Hey, Chaotic Crew, Brian here, and we've got another deck tech for you from Aetherdrift. But before we get into that, don't forget tonight on the night of this video's release, we're going to be giving away both of the Aetherdrift precons on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/chaoticcommandermtg. Make sure to check that out. It's going to be a great time, and make sure to see the precon upgrades that we uploaded last week and the week before to enter for those chances. So very fun to do that. And yeah, let's dive into this deck tech. We've got Kolodin Triumph Caster, a super fun card. It's a red and a white for a 2/3 human pilot. Mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So pretty much, you could go either saddles or vehicle or mounts or vehicles with this commander. I think a little bit of both is also fun. I actually wasn't gonna build this deck in person, but I went to the pre-release last week and I pulled the Chandra Spark Hunter, Planeswalker, and the 2 mythic white vehicles, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I have to now. But yeah, so we're going more in the vehicle direction for this deck tech, but a fun commander nonetheless. Off the bat, some things that may be difficult for this deck are, drawing cards. It can kind of run out of gas, right, and then kind of fizzle out. And then, if you don't have enough vehicles to do shenanigans with, maybe that can be difficult as well. So we'll kind of go into ways that can be a little bit alleviated, but let's get into it. So obviously Kolodin's the commander. We are running 2 planeswalkers, so Chandra Spark Hunter, a new planeswalker from the set, and beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target vehicle until end of turn. It becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. So pretty much just freely cruise 1 vehicle each turn, which is great. And that's a +2. It starts at 4 loyalty, so to -7 it, you just have to survive it for 2 turns, which is pretty great. The 0 creates a 3/2 vehicle with crew 1. So if you don't have any vehicles, you can play this, get the vehicle out, and then use the ability on that. You can also -7, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control enters, the emblem deals 3 damage to any target. That could be a game changer with cards like Wake the Past or, Push the Limit, which is a new card as well. But very good card here, especially in a vehicle-centered deck. And then Duretti Scrap Savant, always a great card in any red artifact deck. Pretty much just going to be discarding, big artifacts from your hand to draw cards that maybe you can play this turn. The -2, essentially trades an artifact on your battlefield with an artifact in your graveyard. And the -10, whenever an artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So very solid card there, and one of the ways that we can get some of these big artifacts, big vehicles out for nothing, right? Very good there. We do run a few creatures, 12 to be exact, in this deck. Audacious Reshapers is really good. You're sacrificing an artifact you control. Maybe you have a dead vehicle on the board, right? Or one of your artifact lands, right? And you reveal cards on the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card onto the battlefield. The rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. Audacious Reshapers deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. So yeah, whether you're doing a treasure or getting rid of one of Chandra's vehicle tokens, this can be an amazing way to cheat out some of these big artifacts that are going to be coming up here. Cloudspark Coordinator, a new card, 2 mana for 3/1. When it enters, you scry 2, and then you can tap it to create X Pilot, where, X is the number of mounts and or vehicles that enter the battlefield under your control this turn. This can be good to get some blockers up, but also, if for whatever reason you need to crew a bunch of creatures, this can be helpful as well, because your commander is crewing them already, essentially, when they enter. you don't have to use this to crew those creatures that turn. Can tap to make a pilot, and keep you able to keep using those vehicles turn after turn. Foundry Inspector, and we also are running Voyager Quick Welder, are two ways to give artifacts a little bit cheaper, which is pretty nice. In here we do run a lot of artifacts, so being able to discount them by one is kind of pseudo ramp. We have Goblin Welder, sort of another way to cheat out some very big artifacts from the grave. Very, very strong there. Illustrious Wanderglyph kind of buffs all of our vehicles and our creatures, and it's also making 1/1 gnomes, which become 3/3 gnomes, and that's really imperative just because those can be really good crewers as well. Interface Ace, one of the best crewers in the deck. It mounts and crews vehicles using its toughness, and then when it becomes tapped, you can untap it. This bigger ability triggers only once each turn, so it can crew two things, or mount two things, right? It's pretty solid there. Lashiel, Clockwork Scholar, is not only going to be protecting our vehicles as they swing in for damage, but it's going to draw us a card once a turn, which in this deck is definitely very helpful. It also has a decent amount of toughness and can crew some of our vehicles. Osgear, the Reconstructor, very great in our strategy to discard some big artifacts and then get them out of the graveyard. Not free, but gives us a second copy, so we kind of get one free one, right? And if we get two big vehicles out for free from our graveyard, or from our graveyard, they'll become creatures, gain haste, will be very strong. Rebic, Architect of Ascension, I think is amazing in any artifact deck, especially when you're running ones of all mana values, right? Big ones to small ones. It's definitely going to make it harder to block and easier to get rid of. Then people are going to start targeting your commander pretty much. Or Rebic. SRAM Senior Edificer, fantastic card drawn here. Unswerving Sloth, a new card. It's a mount, and when it attacks while saddled, it gains indestructible, and then you untap all creatures you control. So this is just sort of a way to, make sure that you leave some blockers up, which is, another thing this deck maybe doesn't do too well is blocking, but this definitely helps out with that. For the sorceries, we don't run too many. We're running Faithless Looting, of course. Jessica's Will, sort of pseudo card draw, and can get some big artifacts out. Push the Limit, like we said, is a similar Wake the Past. Wake the Past returns all artifacts from your graveyard to the battlefield. They gain haste until end of turn. And then Push the Limit does the same thing, but essentially only returns mounts and vehicles, and it saddles them. And you do sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So this is sort of just like a final push to win the game kind of card. So that can be good there too. Slaughter the Strong is a good board wipe. Pretty much you're going to be, getting rid of everything but your commander as far as creatures, and then you can crew something. So pretty solid there. You can also keep your commander, which has 2 power, with like Lashiel, or your commander with Interface Ace, or your commander with Voyager Quick Welder. So Voyager with SRAM, right, to keep things on the battlefield. We have Trash for Treasure, which is another way to sort of cheat a big artifact out of the graveyard, which is good there. Instance, Burrow's Charm is protection, Chaos Warp is removal, Crush Contraband is great removal as well. Demand Answers is an instant speed, way to either sacrifice an artifact or discard one, draw 2 cards, which can be nice to get something in the graveyard. Generous Gift, Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Wear and Tear, a great removal as well. Untimely Malfunction, people are going to target your commander. You can, switch the target as well. And then I have a Teferi's Protection, so I definitely run it in here too. And then we have 34 artifacts, which is a big amount. But we'll just dive into those. Aerial Surveyor. When it attacks, defending player controls more lands than you. Shoot your library for a basic planes, put on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So solid catch-up ramp there. Alacrian Armory is amazing. It gives creatures +0/+1 in vigilance, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target mount or vehicle. It essentially becomes saddled or an artifact creature if it's a vehicle. It's very similar to Chandra's ability, right? Having multiple of those kind of abilities besides just your commander really helps make the deck more consistent, so really strong there. Obviously, we've got a decent ramp package. I can just go through those. Arcane Signet, Borrow Signet, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, Soul Ring, Talisman of Conviction. Don't need a ton of ramp here, but definitely good. I see that I still have Mobile Homestead. I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to add in another land. Let's go ahead and add Ghost Quarter to get rid of... Yeah, there we go. But anyways, yeah, Cursed Mirror is also a solid ramp option. It can also become a copy of one of your vehicles or late game or you know, one of your opponent's creatures, so it can be strong. We've got Brass's Tunnel Grinder to sort of help discard stuff as well, but also later game turns into a value engine where you're going to be discovering. Brotherhood Vertibird is going to be a massive creature that with evasion. When you cast it, Cloud Spire, Sky Cycle is really solid. It comes in, it's going to put 2 1/1 counters distributed among things, so you can buff your commander, you can buff some other things. If you're getting this with a few other things out of the graveyard, it's not bad. This isn't a bad one to sacrifice as well. I don't feel bad about sacrificing this one. Colossal Plow is sort of a pseudo ramp card, right? Because you're going to be getting 3 white mana when it attacks, so very strong there. Horde Hauler also is going to give us some treasure tokens. Mech Titan Core for the Mech Titan, love that. Midnight Crusader Shuttle is pseudo removal, which is nice to have on vehicles. Nautiloid Ship gets rid of graveyards. Parhelion II gives us some really strong blockers. And that's all we can ask for, right? We get 2 4/4 Angels with Flying and Vigilance, so very strong card there. Peace Walker Colossus can help crew our other vehicles as well, so very, very good to have if our commander dies. Reaver Titan is just a incredibly strong vehicle. Reckoner Bankbuster is sort of can generate card draw but costs some mana. Rolling Hamsphere is pretty solid. You are getting some blockers and you're dealing damage, and it's pretty good. Salvation Engine also buffing our artifacts and returning them from the graveyard to the battlefield, so really good. Sky Sovereign Console Flagship is going to bolt a creature or planeswalker when it enters, and then if our commander's out, it's going to bolt something else again. Smuggler's Copter, helping us loot through our deck as well, very strong. Soul Ring, obviously, we talked about. Spire Mech Cycle, a new vehicle. Complicated one here. It's 5/4 haste. So haste is a little bit, redundant if our commander's out, but it also has the exhaust ability. You tap another untapped mount or vehicle. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature. Not until end of turn, it just becomes an artifact creature. And then it gets +1/+1 for each other mount and vehicle you control. So right away, this is a 5 mana 8/7 or a 5 mana whatever. Like if you just have to tap a vehicle or a mount, and this gets very big. So very strong card here. I think it's worth putting in for sure. Surge Hacker Mech is removal on a vehicle. The one ring is card draw, which is very important, right? You want to make sure you can get some card draw. And then an artifact deck, a very good engine for that. Weatherlight also draws you cards. It's going to attack, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you essentially get a historic card from the top 5 cards of your deck, and artifacts are historic. So Valor's Flagship is a way to gain life in the deck, but also you can cycle it to put it in the graveyard and get some pilots out of it too, so very good there. Unlicensed Hearse is good graveyard removal. Now this does work weird with your commander. Your commander kind of does turn it into a creature, but you can react to the trigger by tapping it to exile 2 things. So it's not amazing, but having repeatable exile in your deck is really strong. Unidentified Hovership is good removal and really strong card there. And then the Pride Win Steel Flagship 6/6 with creating tokens that are blockers and also great crewers, just really solid to have. We do have one enchantment. Nahiri's Resolve is going to be great because we can be exiling our cards, and then at the end step, you can return the cards to the battlefield on the next turn, next upkeep. So if you choose to have your commander in that group, right, you go ahead and just blink whatever you want to have haste next turn and go at it. It kind of leaves you a bit open, but if you have some blockers, it can be really good. Looks like I put a second Ghost Quarter in, so I am going to just put in Cabaret Courtyard. And when that'll help us get some of the mana we need, but nothing too crazy here. We have, like I said, Ghost Quarter. Murgano Raceway starts our engines and can get us to 2 mana eventually, so not bad, but not amazing. This is sort of just like a cheaper land base. But let's go ahead and play test the deck. All right, this isn't bad. We've got removal, we've got an artifact, no real card draw, and no real vehicles. So let's see how it goes. We do draw a vehicle, which is nice, and we'll play the mountain. Next turn, we have the illustrious Wanderglyph, which is also good. We can go ahead and play Boros Garrison. We will have to discard at the end of turn. Let's discard the Wanderglyph. We don't have any of that. No, we'll discard a land. We'll discard the Rogue's Passage. Next turn, draw a land, play a mountain, and we're gonna have 4 mana next turn, so yeah, we go ahead and cast Kolodin this turn. And that gives us a mana open. Next turn, we draw another land, so glad we discarded a land. So we have 4 mana, we go ahead and cast this Sky Cycle. We can give itself 2 counters to start swinging in for 4 in the air. We can give this one counter, this one counter, getting them both 3/4s. I kind of like that idea, and then that way you have a bit of a blocker in your commander. So very strong there. Turn 5, another land. Yeah, so sometimes you can kind of like, if you don't have, and you could probably add more of the like looting cards to discard and draw. Okay. 4 mana, we got a few things here that we can work with, so let's go for it. We're going to take our first turn, Command Tower. Next turn, we get the Goblin Welder. Would have been nice to have that turn 1, but we play our commander. Turn 3, we play the Bank Buster. And it has haste. We don't have the mana to draw the card, so we can just go ahead and swing at someone with 4. Turn after, of course, we draw the shield the turn after. We've got 4 mana to work with. We probably go with Lashiel and then Goblin Welder. Turn 5, we do draw a land, which is nice. Let's draw Voyager Quick Welder or to draw a card. And then we can hold up mana. We don't need to play the Coordinator yet. We can hold up mana for Reckoner Bankbuster. If someone kills one of our artifacts, we can get it back with Goblin Welder. We don't have a ton going for us here. We can go ahead and crew this if we wanted to, but this is again more of a value piece to help draw us cards. So we just hold up the turn, and then we may be drawing and getting a pilot, so the pilot is only if we get no charge counter. So good, we drew that card. Next turn we get Osgear. Osgear's not bad. Unswerving Sloth is probably better. We also draw a card, so we could play Osgear. We could pay 1 to sacrifice this Reckoner Bankbuster, and then we can tap Goblin Welder to sacrifice the Voyager Quick Welder to bring the Reckoner Bankbuster back, and then that would let us draw a card. So a bit convoluted, and we would draw Audacious Reshapers. We also have had removal in our hand this whole game, so it may have been a bit different, but I want to do one more game. We haven't really gotten a great showcase, and maybe that's saying something, that this deck doesn't really have great showcases. This looks like it could be one. We have got some solid ramp essentially into an amazing card. Let's go ahead and keep this and see how it goes. Last game here, we'll play the Fury Karm Snarl. We don't have to reveal anything. Actually, we have swords, so we could go ahead and reveal Mountain, no big deal. Next turn, we'll play the Mountain, and we'll do Kolodin. Alright, turn 3, we will play the Boros Signet and play Boros Garrison. Bring the mountain back to our hand. And here's where it gets funky. We have 5 mana. We could totally play Illustrious Wanderglyph. Would probably draw any removal. But we can also play this, right? It's turn 4 now. So we could be playing Horde Hauler. Someone probably has 2 or 3 artifacts that we can deal damage with. Get this in. You know, get a couple treasures. Let's say 2, right? Someone has a ramp piece and another artifact. 2 treasures. Next turn, we're cooking with gas. We also still have a swords up we could cast with one of these treasures. Next turn, the Mana Answers is not bad. We have 7 mana to work with, so we can actually do, or excuse me, 8 mana to work with. We could do this for Voyager Quick Welder. And then that makes this only cost 4. And it gives us an Illustrious Wanderglyph. These 2, or this can now go ahead and crew this because it gets +2/+2. Because we have the City's Blessing. And then this is going to start generating stuff. So now we're in a spot where we can start drawing a few extra cards or looting through our deck a bit more, right? We'll probably discard this Plains for Demand Answers, or we can sacrifice this treasure at some point if we don't use it for swords. Brass's Tunnel Grinder also helps loot us through, so we'll say the next 3 cards. Wake the Past, if someone board wipes, it's helpful for us. Surge Hacker Mech can get rid of something on the board as well, but yeah, really not bad spot on the board turn 5 here. So hope you guys enjoy the deck tech. Like I said, it could definitely use some tweaking, but very fun card, right, when everything goes right. But also a quick deck, right? It does its thing pretty quickly. So if you're looking to make that kind of deck, go for it. And let me know in the comments below what you'd put in, what you'd take out, and what deck you want me to build next time. And I'll be right back on the channel. But you guys have a good one. Bye.